She's finally here. The RSI Polaris Capital Class Corvette torpedo boat has arrived in the Star Citizen Persistent Universe with the IAE 2954 Expo event. I've been waiting for this ship for years, since early hull limited concept sales, and I could not be more excited. She is large, she is mean, she is heavily armored and shielded, and is best used with a crew of 8 to 12 people. You can accommodate more, and you can run a skeleton crew of less. This is not a solo ship. Beautiful views from the outside, the inside, the gorgeous rear thrusters, the amazing side profile, and an absolutely dominating full frontal presence. I couldn't be more excited with this ship. I think she's beautiful. Let's take a look around. Start the tour on the bridge. You have slots for a co-pilot, a pilot, a captain, as well as 2 support seats behind you. The pilot flies the ship. The co-pilot has full control if the pilot steps out of their chair. The co-pilot also has bespoke controls available to them on the right-hand side that allow them to control the hangar doors without having to go into any internal systems. The captain would have comms and targeting priority. You have a gunner seat for a rear quad size 3 turret, and you have a second gunner turret for missiles, a size 2 missile pod on the back that's great for keeping fighters off your tail. The view is fantastic, lots of glass, lots of light. It really feels like living out those Expanse, Rocinante, almost Star Trek vibes of a ship, and I could see myself living on this long term once that's an option.
Yep.
Scanning table, similar to what you'd find on the Idris or the Carrack. It's currently non-functional, but used for long-range scanning, locking onto targets from really far away with those capital class scanners, selecting targeting priorities, and then having your crew move in for the kill or fire long-range torpedoes. It's going to make the stealth capabilities of a ship this big really start to make sense, and having crew for all these stations is going to be absolutely crucial in the future of the game. Right now, it's just fun. Escape pods for your whole bridge crew. You have 8 escape pods at the front of the ship here, and there's more at the back when you get to them later. Escape pods obviously don't work yet, but once they do, they will hopefully be a way to get away from a soft death or damaged ship and get rescued by your crew. Behind that, you have your main elevator access. This is the slowest elevator I've ever seen. I'm hoping they speed it up a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but it's very, very slow moving. But it is right across from the armory, which is absolutely fantastic. You run a mission or two, you board the ship with your crew. The armory's right here, very convenient. Lots of spot for primary, secondary weapons, tools. There's also a heavy weapons rack behind you as you're looking at the main one. Suit lockers, once those come online for combat salvage, mining, whatever you need suits. And above the suits, you're also going to find lockers. They don't seem to open currently, but they do say they open on them, where you would keep your ammunition, maybe spare undersuits, that sort of thing. The executive officer or XO quarters were taken out, just a design choice by CIG. There's now more suit lockers here, more storage, and a bench behind you for some reason. But it's a really cool armory, really cool room, lots of space for your shenanigans and loading up your whole crew. As you move down the main hallway from the bridge past the armory, you're going to come to the captain's quarters. Doesn't currently open. We don't know why. CIG's just told us that something cool is coming and we have to wait a little bit. Next thing you pass is your turrets. If you're crewing one of these and you want to sprint from the bridge to a turret because you weren't in your station, just look for the red doors past the captain's quarters. This opens up onto quad size 4 rooftop turrets left and right. I have mine swapped out for ballistic to give myself more distributor, because the distributor on the ship is nowhere near as robust as it should be, in my opinion. But you have great coverage, top, front, rear, and sides. I have no complaints about these when ballistic, when energy. Hopefully they look at power plant output in the future of the game. If you're running a smaller crew, especially once you're living on board, I would suggest having at least one of these manned. your nose gun, and a rear gun, because the top ones do have pretty good coverage. And there is one of these on both port and starboard on the top of the ship. They have fantastic animation. They've clearly put a lot of work into this. Fully shielded. You can actually watch the crew coming down out of the station. It is not a fast animation. Keep that in mind if you're under fire. Keep moving back, you're going to have the habitation area. You have the mess hall, and you have the bunks. The mess hall, as we all know, isn't currently useful in the game. In the future, you would have food processor, water taps, coffee dispenser, things you would stock from a station for a long-term deployment. For now, it's just good to know that it's here. It's very military style if you're running a military group. Otherwise, the Expanse vibe comes back in pretty strong as an ex-military vessel that would still have some of these markings. But it has everything you could possibly need. It's got tables to sit and consume. It's got a TV, whatever that's going to be in the future, whatever that display's on. And it has another exit out the other end if you're trying to move quickly through the ship. This is the kind of place I picture your crew would be hanging out as you're traveling between systems. You're flying from Stanton to Castra or Magnus or Atlas, and as you're on this long trip, the crew want to consume some water, have a conversation, hang out. They don't need to be on their stations. Partially roleplay, and partially just a place to go sit down so you don't fall over while you're trying to drink some smoothies. Habitation is nice and expansive. There are bunks for 2 in each room. My recommendation is turn this first room into your XO's quarters since they lost that, but they do have their own bathroom, their own seat, double bunks, as well as storage for 2 people in each room. Plenty of room for keeping stuff that you found while you were out exploring. With the fuel tank and the scanners on this, it does double as a fairly well-armed and armored explorer for long-range missions and deployments, whatever you want to do. One cool feature they've added, I believe this is also in the Starlancer, just a heads up, the mirrors do technically work now. This is accomplished with a camera. So if you look above the screen in your ship's bathroom, you will see a small camera on one of those 2 models that will allow you to kind of have an actual mirror. I don't know what the point is, but it's cool. It's immersive. It's a nice touch that they put in. I want to apologize in advance as we move through the ship here. This is where it started to get a little laggy for us. We were in the persistent universe running missions as I was doing this walkthrough, and some lag did start to sneak up on us. With IAE and the Save Stanton event going on, it was sort of unavoidable, so I apologize for that. This is the secondary entrance to the habitation, the galley. There's ladders on each side of the hangar that lead down to the next deck if the elevators break, as we know they can. At the front of the ship, left and right, we have the airlocks. These are for docking to stations and eventually other ships. I would like to draw attention to the fact that docking is still messy in the persistent universe right now as of 3.24.3. It is very difficult to dock with a station manually or remotely. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes when you dock and store your ship fine, if you take it out again, it forces you to claim the ship. So this is alpha. I recommend trying it, but I would avoid docking with stations if you have anything you're worried about losing. It's just not in a reliable place right now. At the back sides of the ship, we have 2 secondary quad size 3 turrets. I have left these as energy on my Polaris, but they are very cool when they emerge from the ship. The armor plating slides open, the turret emerges out. It has fantastic coverage from here. It does require a lot of distributor power to use it, but you can fight off small fighters that are flanking the ship very effectively with this. And it's exactly the same as the rear quad size 3 turret at the bottom. I'm going to keep calling this the Polaris as I'm walking through because it's not currently a nameable ship. I do know what my crew and I are calling ours, but I'm going to keep that name under my hat until such time as we can name it. But I'm sure you all have some great names in mind for yours. You pass more escape pods back here. Very handy for anybody who's working a rear station or engineering to still escape from the ship instead of having to run all the way to the bridge. And then following the blue line, we come to medical. You have 4 tier 2 med beds. That means you have respawn with a decent 50-kilometer range, storage to keep some extra clothing for people who respawn. There's also a medical admin station, which we don't know the full function of yet, but my assumption is you'll be able to control the order and the importance of each respawn depending on the situation. as well as the imprints and that full admin. It's also worth noting that when you look at the doors, say the med bay or the brig, there isn't really any labeling to tell you what's there, only the color strips on the floor. CIG have commented on that. It was an oversight on their part, and in the next major patch, which will be 4.0, we will receive another LOD pass, a level of detail pass in the ship that will show us, where we are based on the color of the door and the text and such. So bear with them on that one. Same with the captain's quarters. Engineering back here. This is showing you exactly why this is a multi-crew ship. If a fire breaks out in engineering on this ship and you're solo, you're basically screwed. You want to have at least one engineer back here at all times once that comes online. Now, engineering's not coming immediately with 4.0. You have some time to run just a bridge crew, but eventually you'll want one person back here minimum running from station to station in a regular gameplay scenario. In a battle scenario, conflict zones or war with the Vanduul or PvP, you're probably going to want 2 or 3 engineers back here. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to run this thing solo and be the hero, and I feel you, but that's just not going to happen, and I don't think you're ever going to trust NPCs to be the ones running your engineering. So you continue along the back. There isn't a level down in engineering. I didn't take you there in this video because it's further on in the video when we enter the hangars and the cargo bay. We'll look at it from that angle. You'll notice as we walk through the detail as far as the coloring on the floors, the light switches, the airlocks. I know there's a lot of doors, but there is a feature coming where you can choose to hit open all internal or open all external doors independent of each other. So on a long flight, you'd probably just have all internal doors open for easy traversal, and you would close them in an emergency. We have the brig here. This is for the future of bounty hunting. Either NPCs or players, you would pick them up, handcuff them, bring them back to your ship, lock them in the brig. Our understanding of this is that when someone is in your brig, they will not be able to simply log out. They will be bound to that part of the ship until you drop them off. They could always backspace, they could lose their stuff, but the future of crew live aboard lifestyles and bed logging and stuff, they will not be able to escape from here. There's little drawers to push food and water through so they can stay for a long time, and the cameras do actually work, so somebody could be watching them at all times. I intend to use this for people I rescue for now. So somebody comes on board my ship and I don't know them. They're going to be in the brig for the flight to wherever they need to go because I don't need them messing with systems. Again, that's not, role-playing too hard or anything. That's just protecting my giant ship full of gear. 2 more escape pods, another quad size 3 turret. Same on both sides, they mirror each other. Another airlock. So you got port and starboard airlocks. At the moment, it seems that only starboard works for docking with stations when it works at all. Another ladder down. Another entrance to the bunks. And now we enter hangar. I don't know why it says hangar 1. It's just one hangar. You come in, you got plenty of room for activities in here. I typically keep the Terrapin in the bay, but there is room here for medical Pisces, an MPUV, and a Razor. We were running ERTs and collecting the loot from those sites, and this was a fantastic combination of vehicles. But as you can see, it's a very spacious bay. Friends can come join you. They can live on board the ship once crew bed logging comes back online, and you could have people leaving in small utility ships as you go. Again, I apologize for the lag at this point of the video. The persistent universe is just in a laggy state right now with everything going on. I did edit it as much as I could. And this is the hangar. There are independent controls. You can pull the levers at the back to open and close the door. It's very slow. If you pull it and you don't think the door is moving, it probably is. It's just armored. It's a massive, slow, armored canopy. So just wait a little bit. If you pull it again, you're just opening your hangar and closing your hangar. But it's very cool, especially the first time you see it. I wouldn't mind them speeding it up a little bit, but I get they're going for sort of a sense of gravitas, and so they're probably going to leave it as it is. Now, you can take the ladders down so that we passed on our way into the hangar. You could also take the main elevator, but there are 2 cargo elevators here down to the cargo bay as well. This is fantastic because if you're out running a bunker in a Pisces and you return to the mothership, once we're able to map back to our capitals in the middle of nowhere, you can take the loot off the Pisces, get on the elevator, run it down, and put it on the cargo grid. So a lot of functionality, a lot of smart thinking here. You got the back bottom part of engineering, so there's more than one entry. This would be the reactor. My main gripe with the reactor is that it is currently bespoke and there's no way to swap it, but it only has 27 pips available to it, which is not enough to run full power to weapons and shields. I understand that they have to have some limitations, but it feels a little too limited, and I'm hoping that they balance that out. You have a tractor beam station. It can see down the ramps when it's not bending oddly due to a laggy server.
Yeah.
So you can put cargo about halfway up the ramp and then leave it to the tractor beam operator, and they can work that, stack the cargo, move the vehicles, put the Ursa in, put some bikes in, and then loot you might have found. I would recommend, though, if you're landed and you have these big doors open, to have security back here because they close very slowly. So I typically have someone assigned to this rear station if we're landed. They're just keeping an eye on the doors. Nice, big, expansive bay doors. Plenty of room for 2 Ursas, a Cyclone, a Razor, and some cargo back here. Over 500 SCU of cargo. She's not a cargo ship. You're not going to load cargo easily onto this thing, but she can carry a lot, especially if you're finding things when you're out in the verse. There's a small elevator that leads up to the missile room or torpedo room for loading extra ordnance into these tubes. To my knowledge, this can't be done yet. I tried everything. I tried unlocking ports. The torpedoes would not come off or go in, but they also can't be bought in any stores yet, so it's probably just a future content thing. But you do have 24 torpedoes back here, as well as 4 auto-loaded, so 28 total to start. In my mind, if you can't kill your target with 28 torpedoes, you're probably leaving anyway, but you will eventually be able to keep more in the cargo bay and load them up. We're now under the bridge level, so we're going to pass the main elevator again, and we're going to enter the heart of death in this ship. You have an engineering terminal, and you also have a torpedo operator terminal. That's on a camera. The torpedo operator can lock on, rotate, and fire, and soft drop the missiles. I will show Polaris combat in a second video coming soon. Enter the front chin turret, which we have named the Twins on our Polaris. These are dual bespoke size 6 ballistic cannons. They don't have a lot of ammo, but they will 2-shot most fighters. They are very slow, very large, and very powerful. I love using these guns. Again, if it's laggy, you're going to have a hard time, but they're powerful. They do a really good job. As long as you have somebody who knows what they're doing on these things, they're deadly. Again, if you're going to run a skeleton crew of 4 to 6 people because there's not many people on or the crew's all logged out or whatever, I'd recommend crewing at least these 2 guns, one of the top quad size 4s, and the rear quad size 3 turret for basic coverage. You're not going to win a fight against 20 people like that, but if you're fighting a couple of small fighters or a cutlass or something, you'll be able to maintain fire. Now, I think the reason why the elevator is so slow is to stop the pilot from being able to run up and down and use torpedoes and fly the ship, but I do think they should speed it up a little bit because it feels like a false limitation. So what are my thoughts running with a full crew on this thing for a few days? She's a beautiful ship, she's powerful, she's limited by needing crew, which I think is a good thing, and I think that I'm very, very happy to have this as part of my fleet. I will be on the Polaris most often, surrounded by a great full-time crew. They will eventually live on board, keep everything on board, utilize this for every kind of mission you can think of, and I think it's just an awesome addition to the game. I think we'll see less of them out there than you think. I think seeing a crewed one will be even more rare, but I'm very excited to run into another crew and either fight them or ally with them. So what do you think? Did you get a Polaris? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think it's a dumb addition, an awesome addition? Do you think it's too expensive or not expensive enough? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you're looking to crew one of these, there's a link to our Discord in my bio, and I would very much like to have some more full-time crew on board, especially for large-scale events. Thanks very much for your time, and as always, fly safe in the verse.